up, you don't know where the money went. Everybody's like, yes, sir, you're our leader. But expanding on what you talked about the ratings agencies, the governments certainly are insolvent. But compared to the mega banks that we give the money to, which they then loan back to us at loan sharking rates, as you said, the ratings agencies, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, all of them, they certify the corrupt banks as wonderful, and their derivative garbage that's worthless is AAA gold, the best it is. And now, at the behest of the banks, they're saying Europe, the U.S., they're lowering credit ratings, so we're in hock to the banksters who are the open fraudsters. I mean, if Corzine can get away with this and the mega banks can get away with it, then we should get Bernie Madoff out of jail and make him king of the earth because, I mean, he's just like them.
Maybe we'll make him, I got an idea. How about Treasury Secretary?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be perfect. And again, look at their track record. I was on your show the last time. I read to you from the minutes of the Federal Reserve meeting how they all got it wrong. Bernanke, Geithner, all the people that are telling us what to do. So let's take this over and see what's really going on. Let's flash over to Europe for a moment. Have you seen the latest headlines? Just before Christmas, when no one was watching, as we know, and you reported on it, the European Central Bank dumped in about $700 billion for the banks who are having a money problem. They gave them the money at virtually no interest rates. They used that money so they could buy these worthless bonds from Portugal, Italy, Spain, Greece, and Ireland, and others. And then what they're doing now, this is great. They're going to pump in about another 500, 600 billion to bail out the banks again through the European Central Bank. And by the way, this all ties in, Alex. Have you seen how gold prices have been moving back up?
Yes.
Because the smart money knows what the deal is. You already mentioned that the Fed is hinting about QE3. The European central banks have their QEs going on now. They're devaluing the currencies in front of our eyes. But it gets better.
Oh.
Because now, for the Greeks to get that dough, the Germans just put out a directive, stating that the Greeks have to turn over their sovereignty to the European central banks and the European Monetary Union. That's right. They're not going to be able to do anything as a sovereign government. The European Monetary Union is now taking over Greece. This whole thing is collapsing. I guess the Germans didn't defeat, they occupied Greece a little while during World War II. Now they could occupy it. They've already sent one guy over there to go over their books and tell them how to spend the money. Now they're bringing the whole squad in there again. It's an occupation. The bankers are occupying the world.
And let's be clear. I read it in The Economist, everywhere. They're saying it's good to have the technocrats. And yes, you have no sovereignty in towns in Rhode Island, major cities in Michigan. There's headlines, I know you've seen them because you've covered it, saying no more democracy in this Rhode Island town. No more democracy in this town in Michigan. The state is taking you into receivership. No more city council. And we're going to put a corporation over you. And they're just going to raise all the fees. And you take Greece, as you know, most of their debt is what the government signed them on to for the bankers. And now the bankers who created all this debt, they're going to tell them what to do. But as I also saw an article in Reuters, there's now rebellions in Sicily actually with the real pitchforks because they've taken their guns. The people are going to resist. And I don't think, I'm reading where in Greece they're saying, and in France, that they're going to raise VAT on everybody's businesses and kill them when they're all going bankrupt to pay the bankers. What do they think's going to happen? People are going to start going wild, as you've said.
Exactly. And they're going wild, as you're pointing out. And again, when you think of how ludicrous this is, that we have to bail out the bankers, that a guy who started this under Bush, what was his name? Paulson, the Goldman Sachs guy that was playing Treasury Secretary, made up this whole thing, warned the people that the whole system was falling apart if we didn't come out with TARP and bail out the banks. Obama picked it up, and he doubled up on it about 6 times, along with the Federal Reserve. This whole big lie that we have to bail out the banks. But it's worse than that, because just what they're doing to Greece and Ireland and Italy and Portugal and Spain, they're doing to the everyday person with your credit cards, with your car loans, with your student loans, with your mortgages. Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, you're controlled, owned, signed, sealed, and delivered as a slave for the rest of your life by the bankers, the money changers. Listen, Alex, it didn't make the biblical proportions because it was a small game out there. Again, the only time that Jesus Christ becomes violent is when he picks up a whip to drive the money changers out of the temple, turns over their tables, and guess what? They killed them. That's right.
Well, Gerald, back in 2002, Greg Palast, investigative journalist of BBC, as you know, he was sent documents that were leaked around the time Joseph Stiglitz, who was the head economist there, quit. Stiglitz says he didn't release them, but, I mean, it's pretty obvious that it was associated with that. And it said, we've done this in Argentina, we've done it in Africa, other countries in Africa. We're going to get everybody in debt to our fraudulent paper, bankrupt them, then there'll be riots, then we'll bring even more control. That'll drive down the value of everything. Then we can buy everything up. They've maneuvered everybody with unfunded mandates, all this federal government garbage into bankruptcy, and now they're openly doing it. But they did this in the third world before there was an internet, and the third world didn't have guns. I mean, they are going to try to totally bankrupt everybody just so they can consolidate everything. I don't see them getting away with it. As a trends forecaster who's been extremely accurate, Gerald, what do you see? I mean, obviously you predicted the Tea Party, uprisings, tax rebellions 5-6 years ago. Now it's all manifesting. But down the road, and I know it's all up to us what ends up happening. The future is fluctuating, but I don't see this ending pretty. I mean, like you said, they're going to start a big war. Now they're getting ready for that political distraction. I mean, it's like 2 runaway trains. The globalist making 40-to-1 bets, totally delusional. The public losing their standard of living, getting angry. 3 million guns sold in the month of December, in the U.S. alone. The general public saying they don't trust the government. Congress with a 9% approval rating. I mean, this looks like we're going to see one hell of a confrontation. Oh, yeah. And by the way, just to fill in before I move on to that, all those guys, these hedge fund guys and private equity groups, those thieves, they're moving all into these countries like Italy and Ireland and Portugal and Greece. And they're buying up, that lovely term they have, privatization. That means they sell expensive public assets at pennies on the dollar to their buddies. They're already they're already swooping in there. So what is it going to look like? It was our, Autumn Trends Journal of 2010, Off with Their Heads 2.0, and then our Spring Trends Journal of 2011. The first great war of the 21st century. And this is the way it looks. You're going to see more and more civil wars. Then you're going to see regional wars. And then you're going to see world wars. They're going to be going on simultaneously. It's going to be a globe in conflict with no end in sight. And the big one coming, as we believe it is after parsing through the Obama State of the Union address
and I encourage everyone to look at it and read it. He began with war, and he ended it with war. Oh, and by the way, that we should use, to paraphrase what he said in his speech, the great achievements of our military to run the rest of our institutions. That should be our guide. Oh, yeah, they're doing a great job. They haven't won anything since World War II. Oh, I forgot Grenada. Don't, you know, if I get these emails saying how great they were. They lost Iraq. Now, you went to all the great victory parades. You should have seen Bloomberg and Lady Gaga. Oh, was that New Year's Eve? When oh, that's right. They didn't have one this time on Wall Street. Oh, and they're doing a great job in Afghanistan. Yeah, the Afghan soldiers that you're hearing clowns like Chicken Hawk Romney saying we should train so they could take over, and Obama and all the rest of them saying, yeah, they're wiping out our soldiers. Oh, and the lovely war they started in Libya, a civil war. Read the speech, because at the end of the speech, do you know who Obama goes after? That's right, Iran. And if they go to war against Iran, again, you pick up the papers today. Oh, I'm shocked. You're saying at a Senate meeting that Iran, if they're attacked, they're going to retaliate by possibly striking Americans at home. How dare they? How dare they think of that? And what genius could have figured that out? Oh, no, bomb the hell out of them.
No, you're right. Hold on. It's outrageous that if you bomb somebody, they might. Well, I saw a police captain a few months ago when they were beating Occupy Wall Street people. They said balling up is now resisting. So if you even try to block a blow, how dare you? If I walked up and wanted to punch you in the nose and you blocked it and punched me back, you're the bad person.
You see, Alex, this is what happens in third world nations. And this isn't rhetoric, it's fact. You look at the decline in the number of people that own homes. You look at how many people that are unemployed now for well over a year. You look at the gap between the rich and the poor in the United States. It rivals countries like Zambia, according to the CIA World Fact Book. We're way down on the bottom on every list, whether it's from quality of life to education to health care. We don't even come close to win, place, or show. This is what happens in a declining economy. And as I said back in 2008, when we began to bail out the too big to fails, that the merger of state and corporate powers, by definition, is called fascism. So when all these people were calling Obama a Marxist, a socialist, a communist, no, you have it wrong. It's fascist. So fascism is moving in.